The new expansion for Hearts of Iron 4 is out, and the reviews are in, and they're mostly negative. I know if the devs are watching this, you're probably going to be like, why are you giving us feedback now? It's a little bit too late. Well, the problem I find is when I play these early access DLCs, I feel so uncomfortable picking up a megaphone and saying, this is what's wrong with this DLC. But I did play this for the last 2 weeks before you guys did. And I realized I was playing an unbelievably rough version before the actual release. So I have to say to myself, is this game going to become significantly more polished when it comes out? Or does it need a few more weeks of testing? These two videos are dropped, and the British Raj I played the most. These runs were incredibly buggy, had lots of dead ends in the focus trees, and if you were a minor power, well, they're all minor powers, they required a lot of planning and practice runs before you could play it properly and actually play a decent, flawless game. So I initially felt a little bit disappointed. The game seemed so unpolished and so rough, but I accepted that this was an early release edition. I would have much prefer they give us a more polished version, maybe a week before release, and therefore we're actually showing you the main core fun parts of the game that's bug-free. I do think an extra week or two of testing would have made these focus trees so unbelievably polished. Let's also take into account that Paradox are currently riding a wave of controversy regarding the coring of Tibet. I made a video dedicated to that, so you might want to check this out on this channel if you're not sure what it's about. Another brief note is the previous expansions that were country packs, these DLC country packs got poor reviews on Steam as well. However, they weren't as negative as this one was. This one is kind of full-on negative, where the other ones were a little bit mixed. So this one is the worst performing of the country packs. Anyway, enough about me. Let's find out why the community is upset. This guy says, the biggest problem with this DLC is that every type of territorial expansion leads to a confrontation against the big nations, and it's extremely frustrating. Could not agree more. As a minor power, you want to expand to become a major power, so you actually are a player on the world stage. It's the most fun of all, going from very small and insignificant to someone outrageously powerful and massive. It feels good. The problem is the UK mechanics of guarantees has always been a hurdle against that. I understand why that system works, but without a full-blown League of Nations mechanic and a way of working around those mechanics, the fun is super limited by those guarantee systems. If I'm Iraq and if I'm invading Iran in 1940 when World War II is happening, why does Iran have to join the Axis? Why can't it be two minor nations having a standoff without a major power coming in, bottoming their nose in? Especially when these two nations are too isolated from the Axis or the Allies. Now, I understand this is a World War game. It's just that it is a frustrating mechanic for the game. And once again, it's one of those metrics of fun versus historical. And you know, guys, I always lean towards fun. But there is another factor that we're taking into account is power creep versus fun. Power creep has been on Paradox's radar more recently because that was the reason why the previous expansion got a little bit of heat. Trial of Allegiance, ignoring Gotterdammerung. They said that some of the bonuses for South America were too big. And to be fair with you, I agree, but however, they actually made that area of the world fun. I mean, giving a big bonus to Argentina feels worth it to me because you're Argentina. Now, a big bonus for Germany obviously is devastating because you're already a major power to begin with anyway. It feels like small nations need a leg up to make them fun, but major powers don't need that. So I thought it was a very strange decision after Trial of Allegiance. Like, we got this really cool expansion with really cool features and really cool OP things in it, and all of a sudden they released a patch straight afterwards that nerfed everything. What's this great new DLC that you just bought? Oh yeah, we've just made everything in it significantly less fun because the community was upset about that. But now we're on the opposite end of the scale here. People are frustrated because the focus trees are railroaded and your amount of freedom that you get to expand within your area of the world is more limited. One of the reasons why I love Death or Dishonor, the Balkans, is a playground. And you get this cool ability to invade all your neighbors and gobble them all up and make this big Balkan block, which is super fun. But then Paradox over time have started to add more and more guarantees in the Balkans, which has just made the experience super frustrating. It actually makes me wonder, if Hoi 4 was a more fun game if you just removed guarantees completely out of the game. Is someone going to make a mod for that? That would be a really cool mod. I'd love to see that. The no guarantees Hoi 4 experience. Whether you play historical or not, the reality is you're always coming up against a major faction removes the fun element. To be fair, Raj is least of the problems because you do have the potential to become a major quite easily without territorial expansion. Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan, you're screwed. Been talked about a lot in the past about limited war goals, the idea that a war is isolated between two powers. I think there needs to be more mechanics of white piecing out the majors, which they have added some of those for the British Raj, which I'm thankful for. But once again, if two minor powers are fighting against one another, why does guarantees got to be involved? And why have factions got to be involved? Why can't they just resolve their disputes between them? I know this may be ahistorical, because in the World War II environment, nations did intervene in other conflicts that were going around the world. But once again, I'm leaning more towards fun than historical. The most atrocious thing about this DLC isn't its content, it's being bored and unfun to play. Once again, I lean towards fun as OP bonuses that allow you to play these minor powers and actually still have a say on the world stage. Say what you want about the atheist pseudo past, but when you release their kind of fun, you can justify its existence. Communist Balkan, Bulgaria, monarchist Poland, for example. This time it just sucks. Tried to play every nation, hated every single one. It is kind of funny that the most fun path for Poland is the monarchist path, and you've got 5 of them to choose from, haven't you? Once again, back in the day when Paradox was not afraid to include OP bonuses, that 20% attack for cavalry for Poland is still eye-wateringly OP, but my goodness, is it fun? Poland is a minor power, so giving them a leg up and a boost to take on the big enemies of the Soviet Union and Germany is worth it. Play devil's advocate for a second. I can understand why power creep is a problem in the multiplayer community, but the problem in the multiplayer community, they're not playing alt history paths. More of the time, they're playing their own mods in the competitive scene, or they're playing roleplay mods that are big in the Tommy K community, which they're not even playing vanilla anyway. And it's a big one of the bigger one. The mods are doing it for free. Let's be real right now, Paradox. If you're ever going to look at Road to 56 for, let's say, the Middle East, and you're like scratching your head thinking, my God, these focus trees are pretty big and pretty impressive, full of art, content, and cool bonuses, but then you're releasing your own that just can't compete with Road to 56, you're supposed to go to ask that question at this point. It's like, what is the purpose of these DLCs? I hate to use the argument mods did it first, but mods did do it first, and Road to 56 now is the gold standard when it comes down to national focuses for countries. So when you release a country pack, how is it any better than the free Road to 56? Well, a lot of the time it's not. Okay, I went through the Steam reviews and I tried to create a summary of why people didn't like the new expansion. So let's go through those super quick. Poor focus trees and lack of content. Focus tree feel uninspired, unpolished. Unpolished, as I agree with, less engaging than the previous DLCs. In these trees, particularly criticized for meme paths and weaker gameplay than before. I always think this is a strange one, this one, because people like alt history, but there's some reason when you go too far on the alt history, people get a little bit upset. I feel like it's depending how far in the past you go. I think if it's a nation that existed in the last 100 years, I think Ahoy players, which are modern history nerds, think it's plausible. When you go back all the way to the Mughal Empire and the Timurids and the Silk Road, I guess at that point people are scratching their heads a little bit, and it's like, well, this is not even in the modern era of warfare time frame, so why are you adding these nations? I just want to say, from my perspective, I'm not against them, but it does seem like the community as a whole don't like them. Some paths feel intuitive, forcing a world conquest for regional dominance. It's the classic, though, is it's what I was saying earlier about guarantees by Britain just landing on your doorstep, or just randomly a nation joining the Axis. Why can't I be just doing my little thing in the Middle East and not be bothered by the major powers? I suppose one of the issues as well that's just popped into my mind is now when you turn historical off, it turns into chaos. I personally think historical needs to be renamed to random mode, because at the minute when you turn historical off, you get 1,000 pop-ups of just like random chaos happening around the world. It doesn't even feel like a World War II game anymore. Maybe the alternative historical should be another historical scenario that's just maybe slightly different to create different factions around the world. Because at the minute, I do think historical off is just too chaotic. Lack of new events and mechanics. I mean, to be fair, this is a country pack, so I don't expect that. You wouldn't expect mechanics. I think as a standard right now, Ploy players expect mechanics as a part of expansions and not just national focuses, because people think national focuses should be free because they're free at the moment as a part of a mod. Some major and minor bugs reported. Yep, that's my big gripe. Missing name changes, broken focus paths. Surprising, because this is meant to be the day one patch. And the Iran's Persian Empire path leaves players stuck in endless wars. Once again, as I mentioned before. Maybe if you're a minor power now, maybe there should be a decision on the left-hand side to allow you to wipe peace out from the World War. I'm not sure how that would fix you, though, because then I suppose this is a war game at the end of the day, isn't it? Once again, I'm just saying what the community is saying right now, and a lot of people want to see more regional warfare mechanics and white peace mechanics. But we're so far into Hoi development now, I don't think we're ever going to see those. It's too ingrained in how Hoi for war works. Some national physics and focus feel generic or lazy. Army instead of Iraqi army. Some nations received art models, while some others did not. I think there's an expectation that Paradox will give us cool models and art as part of their expansion, because that's what mods can't offer. So there's a high expectation that these are going to blow us away, these visuals, compared to what modders are already doing. Disappointment compared to other previous DLCs. Gotterdammer was highly praised, so there's an expectation that we're going to get another Gotterdammer wrong. And that's kind of why I joked at the fact that I knew the community was going to say, who asked for this? And I was just joking. Once again, I'm interested in nations around the world that aren't the major powers of World War II. I know the community particularly doesn't. When people think of World War II, they don't go, Iran. You know, they just don't even think that. It doesn't even enter their head. Also saying that Stellaris DLC is a higher quality. Oh, interesting. Anyone in the Stellaris community can give any feedback on that one? Paradox revisiting past content to improve content seems to Hi-Fi devs aren't doing. Oh, man, this is a big one. This is a big one. After a major expansion, we usually get a quality of life patch. And I was sat here in the first part of this year and after Christmas waiting for the Gotterdammerung polish patch. He never came. No, they released a bug fix. I heard that part. But there wasn't any kind of quality of life stuff. Quality of life at the moment for Hoi 4 has just fallen off a cliff. It's almost like the devs are like, we're thinking about Hoi 5 now. It's actually really disappointing. Not worth the price. And everyone says that specifically about country packs because once again, mods are doing it for nothing. So you have to compete with nothing, which is a hard mountain to climb. Let us summarize by talking about what Paradox need to do in the future. I don't want this to be a doom and gloom video. We need to look into ways of making things better. Criticism is good for Hoi 4 because it makes us a better game overall. First of all, regarding the Silk Road thing, the number one complaint that the Chinese-speaking community has is that you couldn't core Tibet. Just offer us a patch in the next few weeks, Paradox, that allows us to core Tibet as China. Make it a focus at the bottom of the focus tree. Just add it on. Add the ability to core Tibet. I know people outside the Chinese community think we're appeasing them, but my perspective, it's such an easy fix. I just don't even know why it's not already in the game anyway. Or as an alternative, if Paradox release an update for China and it's coming this year, just let the community know. Make an official announcement. I get it, guys. The Chinese focus tree at the moment is showing its age and it needs some quality of life. And we are going to be updating it in future. I suppose it's just going to leave a sour taste in people's mouths if it's a paid thing. But if you could offer something very small for free in an upcoming patch, it makes these players feel like they're listened to. The next up, tooltips just need to get better. National focus development is chaotic, and it feels like every developer has a different idea of how national focus tree needs to be made. It's hard to gauge how players are going to play the game, but it would be nice if when you did hover over these certain focuses, they gave you a likely outcome of what possibly could happen. The surprise of just a random nation declaring war on you or being sucked into a major war is so unbelievably frustrating. It ruins your experience, particularly when you're playing on a play as a minor power and have a fun experience with a little firepower that you've already got. As an example, let's say we declare war on Yugoslavia. It'd be really cool if it specifically highlighted these with a red text saying these are potential enemies and it's more of a problem. I suppose the biggest issue isn't potential enemies that they've got from guaranteeing. It's also the random issue of just randomly joining a faction. Maybe Paradox should make that significantly harder to do. Whilst you're at war with a certain nation, they shouldn't be allowed to just randomly hop into a faction mid-war. And the very last one that really does go without saying is these focus trees need more testing. Way more testing. I feel like this expansion needs another 2 weeks of just constant playthroughs to find out the dead ends in the focus tree to get them just right. This is a really difficult problem for Paradox to fix because they're playing an uphill battle here. They have to make something better than mods, and the mods are dominating right now. So a lot of the time you have to ask your question, what can you bring to the table that mods aren't already doing? And a lot of the time, Paradox can't. What an extra music track, what an extra elephant type battalion. It's a bit more limited to what they can do based on the tools that they've got. The biggest downside of Hoi 4 is the modding tools are so unbelievably good. Is this expansion a win for you or is it a loss? Let me know in the comments. Apart from that, have a good day. Bye-bye.